Happy Friday morning, everybody. Welcome into the final edition of Morning Jocks for the week. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you until the clock as we are finally here, one day away from game day. The start of week 3. Well, I guess technically it started last night in the ACC, but in the SEC, week 3 getting underway tomorrow, and so many fantastic games. Me and Damian were talking last night, and it's, again, the first week of the season, it's always exciting. Just it's week 1. We had some really great matchups this year, of course, with like Texas, Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, things of that nature. Then last week more of, I would say last week was more entertaining from a maybe getting some questions answered about certain teams, maybe some other teams having questions arise about them that we didn't expect to come up so quickly after week 1. But, you had Michigan, Oklahoma, stuff like that, kind of your marquee matchups last week. But this week is absolutely loaded. And so because of that, we're actually going to move. So we do our picks every day here or every week on Friday going into the weekend's games, just to kind of let you know kind of our final thoughts on a lot of these matchups, where our head's at going into the weekend. And we typically do that the last segment of the show, but we're going to do that at 6:30 today because we have, I think, about 10 games that I would consider, at least by my metric, like must-watch college football games this week, which, yes, that obviously means that a bunch of these are going to be going on at the same time. If you don't have a multi-TV setup, or you don't have, YouTube TV where you can do the 4 games on one screen type of thing, it's going to be a weekend of difficult decisions in terms of what you prioritize with your viewership, which is a great problem to have, right? In college football, we love that. The more big-time matchups, the better. That's why we went to 9 conference games, right? So this is going to be a great weekend of college football, and we have so many games to break down, give you our thoughts on, give you our picks on. We'll give you our final thoughts on Alabama and Auburn as well as they get into game day tomorrow, with Alabama hosting Wisconsin, Auburn hosting South Alabama. We've also got UAB. They're going to be hosting Akron tomorrow as well. And, of course, on Friday, while we do give you our picks, we also open it up to you because it is Final Score Friday. So if you haven't been part of the show before or you haven't participated in Final Score Friday, we would love for you to today. All you got to do, 205-834-9450. That's the courtesy GMC text line. And all you're going to do is you're going to send us your final score predictions for whatever games you want this weekend. Maybe you're an Alabama fan. Maybe you're an Auburn fan. Maybe you're, maybe you're an Akron fan. Maybe you're a Temple fan and you're, listening in, hoping we're going to talk about Oklahoma and Temple. I don't know. But whatever games you're excited for this weekend, let us know how you're feeling going into the weekend. 205-834-9450. We'll read your final score predictions throughout the show, and we appreciate your interaction each and every day. And again, as we are, I hate to say it again, but about 25% through the way of the college football season. Again, we are just, I'm always so blown away by how great the JOX listeners are, and y'all are wonderful all year long, but especially during college football season. It's, y'all been fantastic, and it's been a fun beginning to the season, and hopefully it will keep being this way all the way through to the end of January, because it has been quite exciting so far. So we'll get to some of our picks, get to your final score predictions as well throughout the show today, but we do want to start off with some football last night, because whether you like college, whether you like NFL, hopefully you were able to check out a little bit of both, but you had one of each going on last night. So we'll start off in the college ranks, and because I know this is probably, let's be honest, the one that less of you watched last night, because you had an ACC matchup. So you had NC State taking on Wake Forest, and maybe some of you interested, because if you remember, or you remember going into last night's game, Wake Forest has a quarterback we should all be very, very familiar with here around the state of Alabama, and that would be one Robbie Ashford, the former Hoover quarterback, who then went to Oregon before transferring to Auburn, and then South Carolina, and now Wake Forest.
Yep, that's it.
Did I miss any schools?
Yeah, that's all correct. That's the correct order as well.
Okay,
that's Red Zone Robbie, if you recall, if you're an Auburn fan. That I think that sticks.
Well, they could have used a little more red zone from Robbie last night if you were Wake Forest. Well, first off, credit to Wake Forest, at least for the beginning parts of the game, because
they came out the gate strong.
You took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown, so you're starting off pretty good there. But at one point, Wake Forest is up 24-14. in the second quarter. You got about 4 minutes to go until half. Like, you probably feel pretty good about the situation that you're in if you're Robbie Ashford and company. But unfortunately, NC State would score 20 unanswered points in the second half. Well, they'd get a field goal there before halftime to make it 24-17, but then they'd score 17 points and shut out Wake Forest in the second half there. So NC State, they moved to 3-0 on the season. They're now 1-0 in ACC play. So they win 34-24 last night. How about CJ Bailey? A big day last night for the Wolfpack quarterback as he threw for 3 touchdowns, 200 passing yards, no interceptions. Also added 19 yards on the ground, so a very efficient day from him. You had Hollywood Smothers. What a name. That's a fantastic name. But he's RB1 there for NC State. 24 carries, a $164 on the ground last night, so an excellent outing for him. And how about on the other side, Mr. Robbie Ashford? So left a little something to be desired, unfortunately. He went 21 of 35 through the air, 252 yards passing, no touchdowns, had 2 interceptions. He did add 1 rushing score, but only 9 carries for 21 yards. So I think we all remember that was maybe his better attribute as a quarterback, was his elusiveness and his mobility, and not really getting a whole lot done on the ground yesterday, but he did have a 1-yard touchdown run for the Demon Deacons. So NC State, again, your winner, 34-24, as Wake Forest now falls 2-1. NC State 3-0. So that was your college football action that you had last night, but we also had Thursday night football over on Amazon Prime Video, and it was look, I was really excited for this game going into it, between Green Bay and the Commanders. Unfortunately, we'll get to the injury news first. Unfortunately, a couple pieces of bad injury news from this one, and especially if you participate in fantasy football, these hurt a little more, unfortunately. But you had one for each side. So for the Commanders, you had Austin Eckler go down during the game, and it didn't look good. The belief is that it might be an Achilles injury, which is obviously very, very devastating. And, the reality is for a guy like Austin Eckler, who's, closer to the end of his career than the beginning, the position that he plays, you hope that this isn't the end for him and he's able to bounce back from it, but certainly not what you want to see from Austin Eckler yesterday, who we know is, such a good guy from everything that I understand from people talking around the NFL, but also has been a really good player for a number of years. So that was certainly sad to see. And then on the Packers side, you had Jaden Reed, who broke his collarbone early on in that game yesterday. And that really stinks for him because he'd been dealing with a foot injury all offseason, and he was going to have surgery on the foot, but essentially, they had agreed with the doctors, hey, you can play on this. It's going to be a little while if you want to have the surgery for recovery. So he elected to play through this foot injury all season long. He's going to get it taken care of in the offseason. And boom, game number 2, opening drive, you break your collarbone. So he's going to be out for a good chunk of time. But if you watched the Packers last night, they seem to have a pretty good rotation of guys there on the outside to make up for Jaden Reed in his absence. So that's your injury news coming out of Thursday Night Football. But how about the game itself? As the Packers would take the win 27-18, they moved to 2-0 on the season. And it was a very impressive performance from the Packers. I know it ended up being a 9-score game, but it was really a 2-score, a double-digit lead for most of the game for Green Bay. So they got up 14-0 in the second quarter. For a lot of the game, it was either 17-3 or 17-10. Then they extended it out to 24-10 lead for Green Bay on a Jordan Love touchdown pass to Tucker Kraft in the fourth quarter. And then Washington, they added a score late, went for an onside kick, were trying to get themselves back into it, but it was just a little bit too late for the Commanders. So 2 really impressive wins now. If you're Green Bay, what they did to Detroit in week 1 and now what you've done to the Commanders, 2 playoff teams from last year, and 2 of the better teams in the NFL, I would say. But Jordan Love had a fantastic day. He goes 19-31, 2 touchdowns, 292 yards. Josh Jacobs adds 84 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And how about my boy, Tucker Kraft? I say that because he's on my fantasy team. 6 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Most receiving yards by a Packers tight end in a decade. So a very impressive night there for the Packers. I will say it right now. Maybe someone else will impress me more this weekend in the NFL. Packers are the best team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I came with the same thoughts. When you look at the Micah Parsons trade, there is no way, unless Dallas just has a miraculous run this year, there's no way you can say they won the trade. Like the Green Bay won this by a landslide. Initially, that was everybody's kind of first thought anyway. But what we've seen through 2 weeks, yeah, Green Bay is absolutely dominant. And I had my reservations on Jordan Love, but he looked comfortable. Like he looks
Oh yeah.
like he knows that he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and he's kind of playing with house money at this point. It would be very shocking and kind of disappointing if the Packers don't make a deep playoff run because of just
Yep.
the fact of like their defense is absolutely smothering. And then they added Micah Parsons. And I don't know if Washington was trying to play the underneath game just all game long, or maybe that was just what Green Bay's defense was presenting. But it really felt like Jaden Daniels was being very conservative and very passive yesterday. And again, a lot of that credit goes to Green Bay for putting them in that position. But I came away from the game, even when Zach Ertz scored and made it like a one possession game, I never really felt like Washington was going to come back and really make it a ball game. I thought
It was like Green Bay said, "Oh, all right, we have to try again.
right.
Let's
and
go
this is
drive
what
down
you
the
get.
field." Yeah.
This is what you get. And I have Josh Jacobs. He put up decent numbers. He got into the end zone, which always helps. But Jordan Love, he's
When he
really
doesn't turn the
comfortable.
ball over, man, he's really, really good.
Yeah, yeah, and again, going into the season, I expected Green Bay to be pretty good. Then after the Michael Parsons trade, it's how is this not going to work? There's no way you can tell me this isn't going to work. And through 2 weeks of the season, Green Bay ain't nothing to play with.
Yeah, so an impressive start to the season for them as they take down the number one seed in the NFC last year, the Lions in week 1, and they take the Commanders, who, if you had forgotten, they played in the NFC Championship game last year. They were a game away from playing for a Super Bowl, and so Packers have made some light work of two what we would imagine would be playoff teams in the NFC. So an incredible start there for Green Bay. The Commanders, they fall to 1-1 on the season. So that's your recap what happened on the gridiron last night in both the NFL as well as college football. But we mentioned it. We have a great slate of games coming up tomorrow. So let's take some time to refresh your mind. What's coming up tomorrow? How can you schedule out your day? Notes on Alabama and Auburn to give you before the weekend as well. And finally, it's Final Score Friday, 205-834-9450. We've already got some text rolling in, so you can send in your score predictions now, and we'll get to them throughout the show. What are your thoughts on Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, Florida, etc.? We'd love to hear from you on the Courtesy GMC text line, and we'll continue breaking down Week 3 of college football for you next on 6:18 here on your Final Score Friday. That's what we call it here on Morning JOX. We're Damian Mitchell alongside you, our wonderful listeners, until 7 o'clock when we will hand you off to McElroy and Kublick in the morning. So we're about to get into the slate of games you have coming. You said it early in the week. If tomorrow is one of those weekends where, let's say, you found yourself agreeing to be a part of a wedding, perhaps, on a Saturday in the fall, which we know is always a point of contention in the South, but my condolences. I will just say that. I feel sorry if you have a prior engagement that will prevent you from spending 10 to 12 hours on a couch tomorrow, because that's going to be how I think many of you are spending your Saturdays, because it's going to be an absolutely jam-packed day of college football. Also, appreciate the text rolling in on the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. Some of you sending in your final score predictions for the weekend. Just like this text that comes in, it says Alabama's going to win 37-13 and Georgia's going to beat Tennessee 34-20. I could see both of those things happening. Or Clamp, he texts in, he has 4 predictions. He says Auburn 35, South Alabama 14, Alabama 45, Wisconsin 10. Think that would make some people happy. Georgia 24, Tennessee 14. And how about this one, though? Florida 24, LSU 21.
So Billy survives another week.
Apparently so. So I like that. I like when we have I like when people get bold and predict some upsets. And, you know, again, me and Damien were talking about this last night. I'm sorry. We're about to go through the slate for tomorrow. You can't tell me that at least like 2 of these games are going to be upsets. Just based on the way the season's gone so far, you cannot convince me that that chalk's going to fall tomorrow. I pray that it doesn't, because that would be boring, right? Nobody wants to see that happen. But anyways, this is what you're going to have coming up tomorrow. Let's get started. Bright and early, 11 a.m. You're going to have a few games to choose from. Obviously, a lot of people here are going to be watching Alabama, Wisconsin. That'll kick off at 11 a.m. on ABC. But you also have Clemson at Georgia Tech at 11 a.m. I think that is a interesting game. I think Vegas does too, because the line has dropped again. Clemson is now just a 2.5-point favorite.
Oh boy.
So we all saw what happened against Troy last weekend. So I think that's an interesting one too. Probably worth having on a second screen if you're an Alabama fan, right? Or if you're an Auburn fan, because Auburn, they're going to kick off against South Alabama a little after that at 11:45. So that's going to be your early slate there. You're going to get Auburn, Alabama, and Clemson, Georgia Tech all going for you there on your early slate. You're also going to have Oklahoma and Temple if that fancies you. Then you're going to have at 2:30, we got Georgia, Tennessee, the big game. I think probably the one a lot of us are the most excited about, or at least the most interested in, because we're going to learn a lot about both teams, you would imagine. So that's going to be a 2:30 kickoff. So that's going to be a nice way to kind of go through the middle part of your day. Then after that at 3:30, this is going to be on the CW. I know we're not used to this, but this is on the CW. You're going to want to watch this one too. South Florida and Miami, a top 20 matchup. Number 18, South Florida. Number 5, Miami. Miami, a 17.5-point favorite as it sits right now. So that's going to be at 3:30. Georgia, Tennessee for you at 2:30. Then the evening slate, and this one is stacked. I mean, you're going to want to have 4 games on at one time. You've got at 6 o'clock, you've got Arkansas, Ole Miss kicking off.
Hotty toddy.
30 minutes later, you have Florida and LSU and Texas A&M, Notre Dame. Those are both kicking off at 6:30. And then 15 minutes after that, you got Vanderbilt and South Carolina kicking off. So that 6 to 6:45 window there, you're going to have 4 games that I think every single one of us, or at least most SEC fans, are going to be very, very interested in how those games turn out. So again, you've got a great morning slate. You've got a great midday slate there with Georgia, Tennessee, Miami, South Florida, some ranked matchups. And then you have an absolutely loaded lineup there late with 3 SEC matchups, and then the 4th one being an SEC team in Texas A&M taking on Notre Dame. So I can't wait. I think tomorrow, again, we said it earlier in the week, I think it's going to be one of the best days of the entire college football season, just in terms of how many quality matchups, how many quality games you're going to have on, and at whatever time maybe you do have you got a birthday party to attend to. You got a kids, you got, I don't know, whatever. Your kid's got a sporting event tomorrow, something like that. Whatever time you can carve out to watch college football, there will be quality football on for you to watch. And that is the best thing that we could say about tomorrow, Damien.
Yeah, and I think we're going to figure out a lot about the SEC as a whole. Through 2 weeks, there's not just a clear number one team in the conference. I think after this weekend, we'll probably iron some things out. And when you look at just some of these matchups, of course, everybody wants to see Tennessee and Georgia, both sides of it. I think Arkansas and Ole Miss, because Arkansas, are you there yet?
Yeah.
Have you reached that point where you can truly contend? Because I mean, you go back to last season. I mean, Ole Miss just absolutely mopped the floor with them. But if you're Sam Pittman and Taylor Green and those guys, it's can we find a way? Because I do think that this game is going to be a little bit closer to the comfort. I mean, we've been hearing some injury rumors or news about Austin Simmons if he's 100%. And after that Kentucky win last week, I think it's a wake up call for us, and we get them at home, which is big. And I'm kind of
I like hearing you say us when you talk about Ole Miss now.
Yeah, because that's my squad.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
I mean, I hope Arkansas gives us a fight because my heart, I love Sam Pittman. I really do. I'm big on Taylor Green. I want him to look successful.
So if Ole Miss loses, you're not going to be sad, is what you're saying.
I will be frustrated. I'll be frustrated. There may be a game before then that I could probably, depending on how that game goes, about 3 o'clock. I mean, 2:30. Depends where my mood will be. But I do think that I want Arkansas to be good, just not this week. But after that, I hope this is a wake up call for Sam Pittman and those boys, and they have a successful season on the back end. But I'd rather not see them have success this weekend. I'll be watching with one eye open, just kind of, if Taylor Green busts off a 80-yard, touchdown throw or run or something, I'll be upset. But also, my professional life, I'm just, hey man, I told y'all about this Arkansas team. They're dark horse.
If Tennessee had been able to get Taylor Green to transfer there after Nico left, would you be a Tennessee fan right now instead of an Ole Miss fan?
That is that's what we call a tough question, Conrad.
I don't think it's that tough.
In hindsight,
mm-hmm.
I mean, it probably been a little bit closer between Ole Miss and Tennessee. But
Okay.
I'm an Ole Miss guy, so
No, I mean it's a hypothetical, right?
I'll put it like this: I hope Tennessee wins because it makes it a little bit easier for us when we take that trip to Athens later in the year.
Yeah, see, I personally do not want Tennessee to win because
you're a Georgia guy.
No, I'm not. Well, I would. I guess I would say I'm more of a Georgia guy than a Tennessee guy, but we're really splitting hairs on that one. Well, I'm looking more forward to who Georgia's next opponent is going to be after.
Oh
this
yeah, the old Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah. So
but y'all are wounded though.
You just don't.
Y'all are a little. Y'all have a morale issue at this point.
Got some things to figure out. Maybe against Wisconsin tomorrow. We will certainly see how all of that goes. But yeah, so that's kind of a rundown of your slate for tomorrow. Anyways, again, just absolutely jam packed. If you missed our rundown there and you're just now joining us, highly recommend just go on ESPN real quick, open it up, and I promise wherever you look on the schedule for tomorrow, you're going to see some high quality football and a lot of it being played here in the Southeastern Conference. So very excited for tomorrow, and with all of those games means picks. Alabama and Auburn till the end, but we'll dive into some of our predictions, what we see from the other games coming up. Some of them we just talked about, including Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas, Ole Miss, LSU, Florida, and many, many others. Also want to get more of your score predictions, 205-834-9450. So we share our picks for the weekend and read your score predictions next on the Friday edition of Morning JOX. Oh, yeah. You know what time it is every Friday when you hear Lil Wayne. It's time for some picks. As we do, making us a part of your morning each and every morning right here on JOX. I'm Conrad Van Order alongside Damian Mitchell. If you're just now joining us, maybe this is the first Friday you're joining us. We like to give you our picks and some of our final thoughts on the big games of the weekend. And we have such a great slate of games this weekend that we are going to have to spend 2 segments going for these games coming up this weekend. 205-834-9450 gets you on the courtesy GMC text line, just like our friend Bammer Abroad, who texts in from time to time. Their prediction, Alabama wins by 17 tomorrow with a late touchdown to make it 17. Okay, so not going to cover, though. But you're going to win. I know that's more important, I guess. Nick from North Birmingham, he has a litany of predictions for us here. We'll start off with Alabama 40, Wisconsin 14. Auburn 48, South Alabama 7. Oh, here we go. Georgia Tech and Clemson. Georgia Tech 28, Clemson 24.
Hey.
I like it. He says Miami 31, South Florida 28. That would be a heck of a football game. Texas A&M 21, Notre Dame 18, and Tennessee 30, Georgia 27. So 3 upsets predicted there by Nick from. Again, you can't look at those games and tell me that at least 2 of them are not going to end up being upsets. I don't know which 2, but I find it hard to believe that at least a couple of them is not going to get a little sideways at some point. We have another text that rolls in, says Alabama rolls 40-14. All right. This text just says Arkansas will win on Saturday. He also throws this out, throwing shade at your ball coach, Damian. How many more seasons of Lane Kiffin missing the playoffs or losing to Kentucky or other bad teams will it take before people realize that he's overrated? He has 1 top 10 win in his entire head coaching career across USC, Tennessee, and Ole Miss.
It's not incorrect information.
That's your coach, man.
It's a fact. I'm not saying that he's wrong. I'm just saying that Ole Miss is the better team, and we will go out there and show it.
I think Lane wants you to stand up for him more than that.
Well, he should have handled it a little bit more. He should have covered the spread against Kentucky.
Yeah, well, he apologized for that after the game.
And he did, and it wasn't sincere. But it's okay. I move my my pride to the side, and we're still big old hotty toddy on that side of town.
Well, it's going to be a good one tomorrow between Arkansas and Ole Miss, and that is going to be one of the games that we give you our predictions for here. And let's go ahead and get underway, Damian, as we have a lot of games to get to and only so much time left before we hand you off to McElroy and Kublick in the morning. So as I said, we will leave Alabama and Auburn. We'll get to those at the end, as we normally do with them last. But we'll start off at 2:30, Georgia, Tennessee. I know the game a lot of people are probably the most excited about this weekend. So you got a top 15 matchup, number 6 Georgia, number 15 Tennessee there from Neyland Stadium in Rocky Top. The line on this one has moved pretty significantly over the last week or so. At one point, Georgia was around 7.5-point favorite. They're now a 3.5-point favorite. I think a lot of that has to do with the uninspired performance you saw against Austin Peay last weekend. But Tennessee has had statistically the best offense in the SEC so far. I know they have not maybe played the toughest competition. Syracuse, after last week, maybe not as good as we thought they were going to be. But Tennessee looking for their first win over Georgia under Josh Heupel. 3.5-point favorite there for the Georgia Bulldogs. Very curious to get your thoughts on this one, Damian. I will just put it like this. I think this is going to be a fantastic football game. I think Tennessee absolutely has a chance to win this game. I think this is the best chance they've had in recent memory to get Georgia. However, we have seen this before with Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, where they don't look inspired early on in the season. They're playing lackluster competition, and now they're going to have to take a step up with the big boys, and they're going to remind everybody, hey, maybe we're not the Georgia of 2021, 2022, but we're still pretty darn good at this football thing, and we're going to go out there and make Joey Aguilar's life miserable. I'm going with Georgia. I think Georgia wins this one by at least a touchdown, and I'm going to ride with Kirby until proven otherwise. So what are you thinking for this game, Georgia and Tennessee?
I think Tennessee wins the ball game.
There it is.
I think people just tend to forget how this game went last year. It was 17-17 at halftime
It
in
was.
Athens with Nico at quarterback. They have already improved through 2 weeks at the quarterback position. Nico was afraid of the deep ball. Now, Dylan Sampson being in the backfield, it helps a lot. But I think the litany of backs that Tennessee has, they're made for the fist fight now. And now they actually have a competent quarterback that's not afraid. He's not playing scared. He's not trying to, just be there for the money. Like he put Tennessee in a situation that I believe that they are better than what they were last season, even with Dylan Sampson being out. Offensively, they're going to be able to go tit for tat. Now, Georgia defensively, I know what they have shown in years past. I think Tennessee missing two of their starting corners is going to be. They're going to try to expose that. I think Gunnar Stockton's probably going to throw the ball a lot, but that also increases the chances of Tennessee getting a turnover. I think Tennessee wins a close one, but I do think they get them at home.
All right, so there you go. I'm going with Georgia, Tennessee, or Damien's going with the Tennessee Vols. Now the game that's going to pull on Damien's heartstrings tomorrow, as Arkansas is going to travel to Oxford to take on the Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss a 6.5-point favorite right now. The over/under at 62.5. I hope it goes over because that probably means it was a really fun football game. But I'm going to roll with the Rebels on this one. Again, I think Arkansas, look, they've looked really good the first 2 weeks, but they haven't played anybody. And I think Ole Miss, maybe the last week was a little bit of a wake-up call, or just a little bit of all right, we've still got a long ways to go. But I think they're going to be inspired. They absolutely smoked Arkansas last year. Granted, I do think maybe Ole Miss not quite as good as last year. But still, Arkansas is just not battle-tested yet. So I'm going to take the Rebels at home. I think it's a high-scoring game, but yeah, I like them to cover the 6.5.
I agree with you 100%. I'm going with my Rebels as well. I think Ole Miss figures it out. I think they understand the sense of urgency that they have to play with, and Arkansas is not a team that you want to mess with, because the moment Sam Pittman gives those guys just the smallest crack of confidence, you see a different Arkansas squad on that field, and you really don't want them to you don't want to see Taylor Green get loose. You don't want to see them find that balanced attack between the run and the pass, because it will be a long day for the Rebels. And I think Ole Miss is better. They've shown the past 2 seasons defensively, they've made the strides to keep if they have to make it a lower scoring game, they can. They've also showed in years past that they can be physical when they need to be. They have a lot more success with doing that at home in the Grove, and I think that Ole Miss, Austin Simmons, whether he is 100% or not, he should go out there and play great ball. And I think Kejuan Lacey is arguably having the conversation that he could be the best running back in the SEC right now. So I think that there are a lot of ways that Ole Miss can skin it, and I think they put it on full display on Saturday. I do think they cover. I think it's a competitive matchup, but I do take my Rebels in this matchup tomorrow.
So me and Damien in agreement there, both taking Ole Miss minus 6.5 over the Hogs. How about Florida LSU? That's a 6:30 kick. Number 3 LSU hosting there in Baton Rouge, and Florida coming off their loss to South Florida last week. LSU is 7.5-point favorite right now, 46.5 the over/under total. I'm gonna be honest, 7.5 is, and this is a game that in recent memory has been pretty competitive. I know Florida won it last year. I know it's at home for LSU, but I'm not totally sold on them after the La Tech game. Maybe it's a case of them taking their opponent lightly, coming off a big win over Clemson. But I think Florida was also looking ahead a little bit to LSU, and that's caught them against USF. So I could be totally wrong. Florida could get out there and get dog walked by LSU. I think Florida covers, though. I think LSU wins the football game, but I think they keep it within a touchdown. So give me Florida to cover, but I think LSU wins if we're just going straight up winners.
I think that last year was kind of an anomaly because of what I've seen defensively for LSU for 2 games. I think their defense is actually worth the crap now.
It is.
And
much better.
That doesn't bode too well for Florida. Now, I do think Florida's style of attack could make the game a little bit muddier than it needs to be. But I think Nuss and those boys on the offensive side, I think this is kind of their coming out party. I think they start to put the world on notice that, hey, there's a reason why this transfer portal was so beneficial for us at the receiver position. I think they actually make a decision to run the football when they have the opportunities, when they present themselves. And I think Garrett Nussmeier reminds people that, hey, there's a reason why I was looked at as one of the better quarterbacks in college football returning. I just think that it sets up for a lot because if you're Florida, you're feeling that pressure after that loss. Like now it's you let South Florida beat you twice because you're still dwelling on the things that you could have done last week. But I think LSU is kind of feeding off that of they're not mentally there and they're coming into Death Valley. And they tell us that the evening to night games in Death Valley are tougher when you're not Alabama.
Mhm.
But I think that all plays a factor, and I think LSU wins. I think LSU gets the point spread as well. I think they win by at least 10 points.
So there you go. Damian taking LSU to cover. I'm taking LSU to win the game, but I think Florida covers, keeps it within a one-score game in Death Valley tomorrow night. All right, 6:30 as well. You've got Texas A&M and Notre Dame, a top 20 matchup there. Number 16 A&M, number 8 Notre Dame. So Notre Dame only played one game this year, that lost to Miami in week 1. But Notre Dame a 6.5-point favorite at home. 50.5 is the total. And I'll be honest, I like Texas A&M in this game. I think that Carson Beck and Miami, they were able to have some success through the air in week 1. I think Marcel Reed and those receivers can do it. I'm really impressed actually with A&M's receivers. I think they got some dudes out there. They can run the football, and I think defensively, right, if they can put a stop to Jeremiah Love like Miami did, that can make that's going to put Notre Dame in a tough spot. So I think Texas A&M a little bit better than last year's team. And they had a close one last year to kick off the season. I think Notre Dame gets the best of them. So I like Notre Dame, Texas A&M to win outright, which would also mean they cover.
I got you. I'm with you on that as well. I think Texas A&M run the football.
Yeah.
Don't put it all on Marcel Reed. The quicker that you can put Notre Dame at one-dimensional and you kind of take Jeremiah Love out of the equation, they're playing right into your hands. The game is in your control at that point. And I think that this is your time to put the stamp on it, let people know that, at least give us hope that, you know what, Texas A&M actually may be pretty good this year. And I think going up to South Bend and handling Notre Dame, because I do think that you can make this game as physical as you want it to be. And I think that leads right into Mike Elko's wheelhouse of once he finds the fact that we can beat them up and punch them in the face and they're not going to react to it in the positive manner, yeah, we got this. I think Texas A&M wins.
So there you go. Me and Damian both like the Aggies tomorrow. All right, before we have to run to break quickly, last SEC game on the slate, you have Vanderbilt at South Carolina. South Carolina a 3.5-point favorite. I think I'm going to roll Vanderbilt on this one. Look, we've both seen them play the same team. Vanderbilt was more impressive. I think South Carolina's still figuring some things out. I think the loss of Rocket Sanders has hurt them and hurt Lenore Sellers. They don't have as much balance right now offensively. So give me Diego Pavia. This seems like an opportunity where he would go and take advantage of it. So I got the Vandy Commodores with the upset.
I have been going back and forth with this.
It's a tough
all
one, man.
week
It's tough.
long. Because for some reason, I feel that Shane Beamer is going to do what Shane Beamer does and just find a way to just light the fire up under South Carolina. But then again, it's Diego Pavia. It's Vanderbilt. This is no longer just the cakewalk team that it has been in years past because of the identity that they've taken with Diego Pavia. Had this game been in Nashville, I would feel a little bit different, but I think the onslaught of it being at home and Shane Beamer really kind of pulling the brainwashing techniques from Kirby Smart and making it seem like South Carolina, listen, you may be ranked, but you're not the better team.
Yeah.
He's feeding them.
That's what he's doing right now.
He's hitting that reverse psychology on his own squad, Sellers, and basically telling him that you're the best player on this football field. Go out here and prove it. I think South Carolina gets them at home.
All right, so there you go. Damian likes the Gamecocks. I like Van picks we just gave you from around the SEC. We still have to do Alabama and Auburn. We'll give you those picks as well as get your final score predictions on a Final Score Friday. You're listening to the Home for College Football. 6:51 here. A few more minutes of morning jocks. Con and Auburn here in just a moment, but want to read some of your final score predictions off the courtesy GMC text line here before we get down to that. So Walker from Georgia, he chimed in earlier in the show. He says, "Happy Friday, guys. Appreciate you chiming in with those thoughts there, Walker." We have, let's see, ZZAG. He says, Bama 42, Wisconsin 20. All right. Drake says, I think Florida pulls out the win on a last-second kick. Wouldn't that be ironic after last week? But he has 24-23 on a last-second field goal win there for the Gators over LSU. Let's see. Don chimes in. He says, Happy Football Friday, everyone. Auburn wins 38-14 over South Alabama. Alabama will win 24-7 over Wisconsin. He says that game will be close for 3 quarters. And then he says LSU 24-17 over Florida. Enjoy the football weekend, everybody. And I am not going to say that last statement. I just don't believe in it.
The old WE.
Yeah. Let's see. This text rolls in. Let's see. Alabama's going to win 42-9 over Wisconsin.
Hey,
and Tennessee is going to beat Georgia 34-28.
Let's go.
Okay.
All right.
I like the predictions there. Let's see. Someone says, Roll Tide, Conrad, but if Tennessee beats Georgia, does Damian jump back?
No, that game has nothing to do with.
Well, no, you're a man of integrity.
Yeah, I'm an Ole Miss guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
you wouldn't do that.
Tennessee is the only time I would be worried about Tennessee is when we match up with them in the SEC championship. But no, that game doesn't do anything for me.
Let's see. Mike chimes in. He says Troy's going to beat Memphis 34-31, and UAB is going to beat Akron 45-28.
Let's go.
Appreciate that. CJ says he's just taking straight up winners. He likes Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Vandy, Georgia, A&M, and Arkansas to all win straight up tomorrow. And Brandon from Tuscaloosa, he says Alabama 35, Wisconsin 10, Georgia Tech 27, Clemson 24, LSU 31, Florida 24, South Carolina 2014, Vanderbilt 13, and Auburn 38, South Alabama 6. That's Brandon from Tuscaloosa. Appreciate all of the predictions there. And let's give you some of our predictions now for Alabama and Auburn. So we gave you a bunch of picks there in the last segment from the SEC slate. But let's start off with the 11 a.m. kickoff, as you're going to have Alabama hosting Wisconsin. Alabama a 21.5-point favorite now, so that makes it a little tougher maybe for some of you. I'm going to roll with Alabama in this one. Shocker, I know. I think it's going to look somewhat similar to last year. Wisconsin rolling in with their backup quarterback, who had a good game against MTSU last week, but, playing against MTSU and coming to Tuscaloosa and playing Alabama is a little different, even if it is an Alabama team that's maybe not quite as sharp as we've seen in years past. But I think Alabama makes another statement this week. I think they get some momentum rolling into the Georgia game. I like Alabama to win 38-13 over Wisconsin.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not too far away from you. I had 38-10.
Okay.
I think Alabama handles their business. And kind of to your point, too, with a backup quarterback coming into Bryant Diney, and
that's not easy.
That's a big mountain to climb, and I don't think Wisconsin's got the Jimmies and Joes. But I think it'll be a physical matchup, but Alabama, the talent will rise to the top.
And how about for Auburn? So Auburn, they're going to host South Alabama tomorrow at 11:45. A couple of notes for you for Auburn real quick. So Connor Gibbs is now going to replace Towns Magoo as the long-distance field goal kicker for Auburn. Hugh Freeze announced that yesterday. And also, both safety champ Anthony and running back Damari Alston are going to dress out for the game, but will be game time decisions in terms of if they participate. So that's your Auburn news there. But quickly, let's get our picks in. Auburn, a 24.5-point favorite, Damian. I think Auburn gets it done. I think it's more competitive maybe than last week, but give me something like a 45-17, 45-14. I think Auburn handles their business, no sweat off their back.
Yeah, I think it's kind of somewhere around 42-14.
Yeah.
I think Auburn, they're